One of the easiest ways to increase your income is to ask for more money from your current employer. While it is the easiest, it is also the most nerve-wracking. I know. Sitting down with your supervisor and asking for more money can be extremely uncomfortable. The problem with asking for a raise for most people is that they can take a very ineffective approach to it. I want to cover an easy 3-step process that you can follow that will put you on your way to asking for a pay raise and getting more money for the work you're putting in. No matter if you just got a job or if you've been working at your current employer for years, you can implement this with your supervisor and begin to increase your income and your work satisfaction in the process. Let's jump in.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror, where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
So thanks for joining me today on the Financial Mirror as we continue to work on improving the one thing we can control, ourselves. If this is your first time joining in, don't forget to hit the subscribe on YouTube to be notified of all the new episodes as they release. If you are listening to this on your podcast platform of choice, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. If you are on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a 5-star review and a written comment, as those both go a long ways in spreading this information with all the other listeners out there. Today, we are on part 3 series of this Increase Your Income. This is a 4-part series that at the conclusion, you will have multiple ways you can increase your income. We've worked through 2 parts already. One of the biggest start off that we were able to do was really focus on trying to increase our skill set, whether that be going through and learning new skills, or if we're trying to go back to school or whatever, but trying to take on new skills. If you missed that episode, that intro episode, please go listen to it. That is gives a lot of insight into the series, and then more importantly, the first step that you can take to take control of your income and increase it. The second part of the series we focused on was turning your passion into income. That goes into really just learning how to get paid for what you love doing. There's a lot of things out there that you already are enjoying accomplishing in your life. Why not get paid for it? So that second part, we turned a great episode out that showed just how you can get paid to really just focus on the things that you're already doing, that you already love doing, and just turning your mindset into how can I get paid to do it? What problem can I solve? So today is going to be a little different, but I want to start off the same way I've started off every other episode. Where did this stem from? Well, it stemmed from this idea where people feel like that they can't get ahead. They feel like they're living month to month. They feel like they don't have enough money to pay off their debt. They feel like they don't have enough money to get through the month. Whatever it is, it's not true. You have the ability to change it. You can make more money. You can bring home more pay. You are in control of that. The other thing that I've continued to mention is, regardless of your income, if you make $10 million a year and you spend $9,999,999, you will have $1 left over every year. You have to be able to control your spending just as much as income. So that's just one example of how living within your means is very important. But more importantly, you have to be, if you are living within your means and you're still coming a little short on your income, that's what this series is about. This series is about showing you ways that you can increase your take-home pay. And today I'm actually going to show you how you can do it without picking up a new job or picking up any side hustles or anything. This is strictly learning how to make more money in your current position, learning how to make more money with your current employer. But more importantly, I really want to bring this series in. Next week will be the final part to this series, but I really want to tie it all together and get you on board so that you understand exactly what it takes to control your income. I want to discuss how you can confidently go to your employer and request a raise with success. That's what I'm focusing on today. Calling this episode 3 easy steps, or 3 easy to follow steps to ask for a raise. And if you follow these steps to the T, you can confidently ask for more money with your employer. That's as straight as I can say it. You will have the ability to ask for more money in the process. So let's jump into step 1. So step 1 is you've got to complete a self-assessment. One of the first things to know is preparation creates confidence. If you're feeling a little uneasy, like if you read this and you're like, okay, I want to ask for a raise, but I don't really know where to start. It feels a little weird, going in and talking to an employer, talking to my boss about like making more money. You're not alone. Everybody feels a little weird thinking about that. Everybody feels a little weird doing it. Most people feel a little weird when they're sitting down with their boss and asking for more money. That's normal. What we will do differently to change this whole entire thing is we're going to prepare. And that's where this self-assessment comes in. Michael Phelps has a story out there around him where when he was going up for his gold medals and competing in the Olympics, he would focus and he would think every single possible situation through in his mind. Why did he do this? Well, he wanted to prepare. But he would think about things like his goggles cracking during the competition. Like, how would he respond? How would he go and continue swimming when his goggles have cracked and he can barely see? Maybe even cracked and a little bit of water gets in there in his eyes. How does he respond to this, right? He prepared, he got his mindset around it, and he learned how he would respond in those situations. And I think that's so important, especially when we're going into uneasy situations. One being asking for a raise, is that we've got to be able to first prepare. We have to understand some of the different situations that could happen when they do this and be ready for those and how you're going to respond. That's a great story. The Michael Phelps story is a great story, but it helped him create confidence by prepping himself. So if you're not going to go out and compete in front of millions of people when you go and ask for this raise. You're not going to go up in front of millions of people and ask for the raise. But that doesn't mean that you sitting across the table from your boss saying, hey, boss, I think I want more money. That still doesn't mean that it's easy. That doesn't mean that it's comfortable, right? So how do you complete this self-assessment? So you're like, I'm ready, jump into it. You said we're jumping in. How do we do it? Well, the first thing you need to do is address, why do you think you deserve a raise? Like, that's the first and foremost, that's the thing you've got to address. Why do you think you need a raise? So ask yourself, what am I currently doing that shows I'm going above and beyond my current position? That's the first question I'm asking myself. What are you currently doing? Like, what can you show? Show it on paper. Don't just say it. Don't just jump in and say, hey, well, I'm working harder than the next guy. No. Show me on paper show me factually, show me situations, how you are, how are you going above and beyond your current position? How is that extra effort improving the organization? Give a actual situation that says, I'm doing this and this is how this is bettering the organization. You've got to think about this. You're going to someone and you're asking them to pay you more. You can't just go in there and say, hey, pay me more. Like, nobody's going to do that, right? So we've got to come up with the why. We've got to come up with the how. We've got to come out with the what. We've got to answer all these questions so that we can go in there and confidently do this. But when you think about these two questions, what am I doing that shows I'm going above and beyond my current situation or my current position, and how is this extra effort improving the organization you work in? You've got to answer those confidently, but you've also got to answer them honestly, right? You got to be transparent about your answers. If you get to this stage and you can't come up with answers that prove you deserve a raise, there's still things you can do, right? You can seek out people and you see struggling and help help them be successful. That's a good place to start. If I see somebody that's struggling, I'm gonna give a helping hand. That shows I'm going above and beyond. Look for problems and create solutions, right? I'm not saying create a problem so that you create a solution. I've seen people do that as well, but look for problems and find a solution. Find projects that no one else wants to do and do it. Those are just a couple things that you can do to if you're not currently able to answer that self-assessment question and see exactly why you are going or how you're going above and beyond your current position, start doing some of these things, and you can ultimately show your current supervisor why you deserve a raise. You're showing leadership by always, looking for people struggling, and you're picking them up and carrying them, and you're caring for them in such a way that they're able to now be successful. That's bettering the organization, right? You're looking for problems, and you're identifying them, and you're creating solutions. You're not just fussing about it. You're not just complaining about it. You're finding a solution to that problem, improving the organization. You're going out and you're finding projects that people no longer wants to do. You're finding these issues and you're addressing them head on. You're doing those things, and that betters the organization. But you've got to be honest with yourself. If you're not doing these things, and you're just barely doing enough to get by in your current position, we got to start addressing that piece first. That's why this self-assessment is so important. If you can complete this and I'm going above and beyond, I'm already doing these things, you're on your way to getting a raise at your current employer. So step two is you've got to find the perfect time to have this conversation. This is a big part, and it shouldn't be overlooked. Just bringing up this conversation, just at any time is not your best bet, right? Remember, your boss is busy. Your boss is stressed. Your boss has their own responsibilities. Your boss has multiple things going on. You've got to find a time that you think will best address the ability to have this conversation to achieve what it is you're trying to accomplish. If all this plays into timing, but getting on your supervisor's schedule to talk about your career and the raise is important. So finding the right time involves you understanding what your supervisor has going on and then trying to schedule it appropriately. So if you have access to your employer or your supervisor's calendar, maybe look at that and say, okay, well, if I did it right here, there's less chance of him or her having already seen some kind of issue come up to where it's kind of already created stress in the day. If they maybe are working on a project, maybe we wait till after that project's complete and they can then get back to you on a great time. But you got to plan that out. One easy thing to follow is to have the conversation during your monthly or quarterly performance review. That's a good rule of thumb because this allows you to easily discuss all the great things that you're currently doing for the organization, but you can also show some value in why getting that raise is so important, not only to you, but for the organization, right? Because all these things you're doing is bettering the organization. They want to compensate you for that. They really do. So during that monthly and that quarterly performance review, that's a good opportunity to dive right in and say, you know what, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to talk about it then. And now we can all of a sudden start to have that conversation, and it'll probably flow a little bit better during one of those things. This does help in step 3 if you do it during a quarterly or monthly performance review, because you'll have, first off, the timing is going to be perfect, but you're also going to already possibly having the conversation we're going to discuss in step 3. But make sure that you don't just willy-nilly create a calendar invite with your boss to say, hey boss, I want more money. Like, don't do that. I'm going to talk about some of the don't do's at the end, but don't do that. And you want to have the opportunity to have a natural flowing conversation, and using these performance review times is a great opportunity to do that. So take advantage of it if you can. The last thing, step 3, you've just got to ask, right? Keep calm, just ask. So at step 3, it's time to ask. If you made it this far, you've already established that you are ready for a raise through your self-assessment. You've got to make sure you're in a position for a raise. You can't just go and ask for raises. People are going to be like, oh, he's just begging for money or whatever. You've got to ask for a raise in the right position. Also, this means that if you're at step 3, you've already established that you've picked a great time to talk about this with your supervisor, and that's important. So I'm not going to leave you hanging on step 3 by just saying go ask, but I will say that this is the most uncomfortable part of the process. Sitting down and doing self-assessment, that can only be uncomfortable in a way that you may have to show yourself things that are maybe not up to what you thought you were at a standard or at that level. You're not exactly where you thought you were, and it takes some self-reflection. But at this point, it's time to put the rubber to the road and go ask. And we've got to make sure we're in the best position to do that. And it's going to be uncomfortable. But if I want to be, upfront and blunt. You could get to this point, have all the confidence in the world, sit down in the chair with your boss across the table. You're looking eye to eye. You're about to say the words, and then you freeze. It's very well possible. Let's be honest, that's very possible, and it's also normal. I want to give you a couple guidelines to follow, to ask, some questions, and give you sort of a guide to walk you through this asking process, this uncomfortable process, to hopefully bring more success to you when you do this. So the thing is if you want to ask for more money, what do you have to do? Well, we talked about up front during your self-assessment, you got to kind of already be going above and beyond your current position. You kind of have to show you're creating, value to the organization. But right here, when it's time to ask, you've got to ask for more responsibility. We've got to get this into our job title. We've got to get this into our job position. There has to be a mutual understanding with your supervisor that this is going to be a part of your job. You're going to do this from now on. This is a part of your growth. It's a part of your career. It's a part of your development. So one way you could do it is say, hey, boss, I'm really happy to be at the company. I want to make myself more valuable to this great team that we have established here. Are you open to creating a growth plan that's going to allow me to grow professionally and financially? You see what we did there? This is asking your boss to say, hey, I want to grow professionally. I want more responsibility, but I'm also wanting to grow financially, right? You just toss that in there. You may not have heard that when I first said it, but that's a great opportunity to ask to start that conversation, right? You're not just saying, hey, give me more money. You're saying, hey, I want to take on more. I want to do more for this company. I want to build this great team. I want to continue to add to it. I want to continue to bring value to it. And that's what you have to focus on. So this approach allows for the supervisor to see you want to grow, but it also shows that you've been exceeding in your current role, and your supervisor is most likely going to be all on board. Most people want to see you be successful because with your success comes their success. And I think that's kind of overlooked sometimes, that people get to a certain supervisory management position, and if they do forget about the fact that the people that they manage or supervise makes them successful, I think that they're destined to fail. But when you ask your supervisor, they're going to be all on board if they are not wanting to set themselves up to fail. So this is a great opportunity, right? You've asked your supervisor, you've got them, they're most likely going to say, hey, yeah, for sure. Let's get you some kind of growth plan. Let's get you some kind of career plan. Let's put this together and let's get it started. So you got your supervisor on board, right? They're sold. Now you've got to build that growth plan. This isn't about your supervisor saying, here's the growth plan, go execute it. No, you're asking for more money, right? You've got to do the work for more money. So this is where you've got your supervisor on board. You need to come with some questions ready to ask so that you can develop that growth plan together. So a couple I wrote down. What are some of the areas of the company that could use more help? What areas do you see that I personally need to improve on? How do you foresee my current position evolving over the coming years? And where do you think I should be putting my effort in my downtime to help grow this company? Those are just a couple questions, but they're going to help drive that conversation. These questions should help keep your supervisor doing most of the talking, which helps you, right? Because if you are feeling uncomfortable, but your supervisor is now doing all the talking, kind of takes a load off your shoulders. So use these questions, write down questions that are extremely familiar, but more designated to your current job and your current company, and utilize those. At the end of the questions, that's when it's time to build your plan. Throughout that conversation, you're going to start to identify those areas that you need to improve, those areas that the company could use the most help, those areas that your supervisor will say, hey, you should start studying this stuff in your downtime. That'll help the company. That's where this conversation is going to flow to. That's going to help you give a growth plan that may put you on track to start doing some of those things we talked about in the first part of this series, where you need to go pick up a new skill, or you need to go study for a certification or whatever. But that's going to help drive this. And the final part of this just ask step is you've got to write down the plan. Don't just have the conversation with the boss. Write down the plan. Don't walk away without writing down a very clear and actionable plan that can be followed, that's going to have achievable results. We want to be able to say, we want the supervisor to look at it and say, wow, you've really excelled. Not only did we write this down in your plan, but you exceeded this by, exponential, amounts, whatever those amounts are. Write the plan down. Once you get the plan, go execute it. Your supervisor is going to be watching. You ask for it, right? Like, you ask for this. So your supervisor is going to have all eyes on you. And when they see all that extra effort, and then they see the business growing, they see the team getting built stronger, they see the cohesion, they see if it's a bottom line driven company, they see the bottom line growing. These are all things that are going to help flow money back into your pocket. So the biggest takeaways here is that organizations want great workers, like they do. They truly want great workers. They want people that want to grow. They want people that are showing up, constantly wanting to grow the organization. When you can prove that that's you, you will quickly increase your income by amounts that you never thought were possible. And that could be that they see all this extra effort and they put you in a new role. Right? They move you into a new role that pays more money. This could be that they see you and they're like, wow, I think all this extra work should be compensated for. Here's a bonus. Here's this. Maybe they increase the amount you're making per hour or per paycheck or whatever. But people normally, handle raises for the wrong, in the wrong ways. And I don't want you to walk down that path. So I'm going to give you a couple of those that people normally do. They normally like to walk into the conversation. They want to compare themselves to someone else. Well, I'm better than them, or I do my job. I work harder than them, or I do this and they don't get the results that I get. I promise you, that's not going to help you. Like, if you told me that you work harder than them, I don't get to see all that. I can't prove it. Show me if you can show me results. That's what I want. Everything needs to be result driven, not emotional driven. As soon as you start talking about I'm just better than that person, or I'm smarter than that person, or I can do my job better than that person, that's brought emotion into the equation, and it's not going to help you. We want task, action, result. We want to know what the task was, what you did, and what the result of that was. The other thing is thinking seniority is going to carry them to more money. It's not going to happen. We're returning into a society that is going to become more merit-based. It's going to be harder to, as education is continuing to increase, people are continuing to seek out new opportunities. Seniority is becoming less of a thing. And just because you stay with a company for a really long time doesn't mean that they're not going to hire somebody right in front of you. Externally hire them right in front of you. Just because you've been with a company a long time, we're turning, people want results, and it's becoming merit based in that sense. So if you think you're going to walk into your boss job and your boss office say, hey, I want more money because I've been here for a long time, it's not going to happen. The other thing is, and this is probably the most used, well, I'm the hardest working person here, And if you're not willing to pay me, I quit. Yeah, quit. Like, I mean, that's not going to help you. If I'm your supervisor, I'm going to tell you to quit because I don't need your energy or your attitude on the team, right? So if you want to come in with a threat to say you're going to quit, you're already showing a sign that you're not really in it for the organization. So why would I pay you more money, right? That's sort of handled during the negotiating phase of getting hired on initially. And then that's talked about when you've done all these other things. You've self-assessed. You've come up with, if you're not currently outperforming your current position, you start doing those type of things, taking on additional duties, wanting extra, wanting to do more. That's how you're going to get a raise. Seniority is not going to do it for you. Threatening to quit is not going to do it for you, and comparing yourselves to others is definitely not going to do it for you either. So these are not effective ways to ask for money, and your supervisor is most likely, if you bring any of these to their office, are going to think less of you. Like, they're absolutely going to change their mind of how they view you. So don't take that approach. Stick to my 3-step approach. Put in the time and put in the work, and I promise you will find yourself making more money very quickly. You're not only going to make more money, but you could possibly even just have more work satisfaction. Could you start, like, when people don't want to do bad at a job? Like, I genuinely think that people don't want to be bad at their job. So when you're going up to people that are struggling and you're helping them, you're going to get a amount of satisfaction out of that you've probably never felt before. You're also going to have a more cohesive team. You're also going to you're going to obviously not have to do as much work because now people will be able to pull their weight because they understand what they're doing. It wasn't they didn't want to do it. They just didn't know what to do. By you helping them, you're bringing them up, you're picking them up, and you're going to help drive that whole organization forward. And you will be identified as that leader along the way. So this is a great way to jump in and get more money. Asking for a raise is something that I encourage a lot of people to do. I just have to be selective on who we recommend that to, for the simple fact that you can't just go in and ask for more money and expect to get it. There's got to be a trade-off. That growth plan in this case is going to be that trade-off. It's going to show that you're taking those extra steps. You want to put in that extra work to get the extra money. But once you get the extra money, it's all about living within your means, and you will be on your way to building wealth, to paying off debt, and achieving whatever financial goals you have. Maybe it's even buying that next house. Now, if you're all ready to take control of your finances and ensure you're on the right track to all your financial goals, I can be a financial coach to work with you and ensure that we build out that plan together for you to achieve financial freedom or whatever it is your financial goals are. Just go over to thefinancialmirror.org, hit book now, and schedule your free consultation today. Finally, if you do want to give an extra dose of support to the stream, we're always putting new gear on there, but go to thefinancialmirror.org/shop and pick you up some awesome Financial Mirror gear. I truly appreciate everyone tuning in. This has been a great series. I'm hoping that everyone has gotten out of it as much as I've enjoyed putting into it. There's a ton of responsibility on the individual for how much income they have, and I wanted to bring light to that during this series, and I hope that you are getting that along the way. Next week, we'll do the final part to this series as we wrap up this Increase Your Income series. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in thus far. If you are enjoying the stream, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. If you are listening to this on the podcast, please don't forget to subscribe and leave that 5-star review and written comment, as those go a long way in spreading the message and getting more people financially aware of how much power they have over money. It really hurts me sometimes to have to listen to people and you can feel how much power money has over them, and that equation is backwards. I love showing people that they have total power over their money, and I want to bring that knowledge to more people. So share this podcast, share this stream, 5-star reviews and comments. Those help get that message out. Till next week, continue improving the one thing you can control: yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.